Merry Christmas! Or depending when you're watching this, Merry Christmas! I'm actually recording this a week before Christmas, but you guys are watching this, hopefully, on Christmas Day. And to anyone that is watching this video on Christmas Day, a Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to enjoy what is going to be one of my favourite videos of the entire year. I've been doing them since 2017, but recently it's been a Christmas Day tradition. We are going to be looking at the Pokemon Trading Card Game Awards 2024. A video where I tell you all the best and most impactful cards of the year. So warm your fingers up, crack those knuckles, and get ready to leave comments telling me I've never played the Pokemon Trading Card Game in my life, and how could I have picked this card over that card? Sound like a plan? Excellent. Now, the year that was, we had, as we always do, 4 main sets. And they were Temporal Forces, Twilight Masquerade, Stellar Crown, and Surging Sparks. They were the 4 main sets that were released in the year 2024. And when we're talking about cards, we are only talking about cards that were released in the year 2024. When we're talking about decks, we are talking about decks and how they performed in 2024, but cards, we're looking at cards released in 2024. We did also have 2 mini sets or extra sets, or phrase it how you will, that being Shrouded Fable and the set that actually started off the year, which was Paldean Fates. So 6 sets in total, 4 main, 2 extra, which is honestly what we would expect. That's what we get every year. And let's start off with the worst card released this year, which I'm going to give to the Magnezone from Surging Sparks. And this one, I spent a long time trying to find this one, trying to look through every card released this year. I don't think there's a really obvious, oh my god, that card's horrendous, but Magnezone is a stage 2 that takes at least 3 energy, and, you know, it's got 3 energy, 80 confusion plus stop them retreating, which is annoying, but it's a stage 2 that takes 3 energy. And then we've got 4 energy, 180, and apparently that's so good you can't use it next turn? No. I had spent a long time looking today, ladies and gentlemen. And stage 2 is always going to bump in this category because they're more annoying. Remember, the Magneton is amazing, great card. Don't evolve. And that actually even makes Magnezone worse, because you're going from an amazing card with phenomenal ability to what is probably the worst card released this year. Worst EX, I found much easier. It's Greninja EX. Again, the fact that it's a stage 2 makes it awkward to get into play. But for 2 energy, it does 100. And then if you flip a coin, it does 100 more if you get heads. But if you flip tails, it doesn't. And again, we've got a really good Greninja that came out in Twilight Masquerade. So why am I wasting my time with this one? The answer is, I'm not. This is the worst EX that was released this year. In terms of best artwork, this one's easy for me. It's a Latias EX from Surging Sparks. Although really it's a Latias and Latios, because remember, they are connecting cards. They make one artwork. It's ridiculous. It's Okacheke, who is my favourite artist, but the connecting cards here are beautiful. Latias is Baby Daisy's spirit Pokemon, and I just think from an artistic standpoint, this pair of cards is unbeatable. In terms of the most valuable card, this is actually an objective measure. We can literally just look at the one with the highest price, and we're talking about the Special Illustration Rare Pikachu from Surging Sparks. We're not counting staff cards and weird promos and any of that. We are talking about cards that can be pulled from a pack here, and it is the Pikachu from Surging Sparks, and it's Pikachu by a little bit of a margin. Current market price, we're talking about $450-ish. Although shout out to the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade, which is way higher than it should be, but still cannot displace this particular Pikachu. So moving through the types of cards now then, best stadium released this year, Area Zero Underdepths, I think. It wasn't a banner year for stadiums, I'm going to be honest with you, but a stadium that lets you have 8 bench Pokemon and helps out a whole bunch of Pokemon, whether it's Terrapagos or Raikou or anything along those lines. Frankly, yeah, it's not the most exciting card around, I'm sorry about that. There have been other years where we have way better stadiums, but I think this year, this was the best stadium released. The best tool card released, Sparkling Crystal. I didn't want to give this to an A-Spec card. I really didn't. But Again, it's not been a great year for tools, and I had a good look, and I'm sorry, but Sparkling Crystal's the best tool that released this year. It's not the best A-Spec, that category is coming up in a minute, and spoiler alert, Sparkling Crystal didn't win, but it reduces the attack cost by 1 for each Terra Pokemon. It made Dragapult way better, which over in Japan right now is either the best or second best card in the game. Dragapult's amazing. It helps out all notion of Terra Pokemon. This is the best tool released this year. Best item, this one was pretty easy. It's Buddy Buddy Poffin. Buddy Buddy Poffin, I think, by a bit of a margin, the best item card released this year. The fact that it lets you go and grab 2 of your basic Pokemon and whack them onto the bench, it just gives great consistency boost to basically every deck. It's phenomenal. Shout out to Night Stretcher, which is a great item card, sees a huge amount of play for recovery, but it's not beating out Buddy Buddy Poffin. This one was pretty easy. Best supporter was not easy. I'm giving it to Eri. But even then, it doesn't sound great to me. Lets you look at your opponent's hand and get rid of a couple of item cards. Sees a bunch of play. We've had some great moments on official streams this year where somebody has played Eri and hit really well off of Eri and then gone on to win the game. It creates fun moments like that. But it's just been a bunch of, oh, that's kind of cool supporter cards this year. I don't think anything better than Eri. Best common, this one is a hotly contested category. And by the time this video airs, maybe I'll change my mind, but I'm giving it to Dusclops. I think this is the best common card released this year. You get to KO it, giving up a prize, but dropping 5 damage counters. Giving up prizes can be good. You can evolve it into Dusknoir, which is not a common, so it's not eligible. And you get to take KOs with it. It's really impactful. It's made a whole bunch of decks. For a while, I thought I was going to give this to Dracloak. It's a common, it's got a draw ability, it makes Dragapult way better, but I don't think it quite matches up. And also, Fan Rotom was really in consideration here for its ability to search out your small, colourless Pokemon, but I had a good think, and when it comes down to it, I do think that Dusclops is the option. Best uncommon is really whether I go with my head or whether I go with my heart. I am giving it to Cinccino, but I don't really want to give it to Cinccino. Cinccino makes Lugia way better. It is a single prize Pokemon that if you just pile special energy on can do essentially infinite damage. It's brilliant. Phenomenal card. Has gone and made Lugia way better. So I do think it deserves a title. But honestly, what I really want to give it to here is the new Koraidon from Surging Sparks, which, to be fair, has gone and made ancient box decks way better than they were before. Goes and does 180 if you use an ancient attack last turn. It's a really good card. It's fighting, so it's a good weakness. I love Koraidon. I want to give it to Koraidon, but I think the correct answer here is actually Cinccino. Best A-Spec, and of course they started this year, so we've got literally anyone to choose from. Obviously, it's Prime Catcher. And Best A-Spec of the year, because they launched this year, really just turns into Best A-Spec overall. They started in Temporal Forces, and the answer's Prime Catcher. There's a lot of really good A-Specs around, but we all know that the best A-Spec is Prime Catcher. Now, in terms of best Pokemon, we do have to split it into 2. So best non-EX supporting goes to Dusknoir and Dusclops. Yeah, I know I already gave Dusclops the best common card. Well, the parodies are great. Best supporting Pokemon, you're not attacking with it, but it's got some kind of ability to help you set up or win the game or whatever. And look at the number and variety of decks that have been winning with Dusclops and Dusknoir this year. Dusknoir is the same as Dusclops, but it drops 13 damage counters. I feel confident giving them the title. Best non-EX attacker, I'm giving it to Cinccino, and this time I don't feel quite as salty. Because you know what? Yeah, I kind of want to give it to Clorf, but Clorf came out in Paradox Rift, which was obviously last year, and it would be kind of dumb if I gave a 2024 award to a 2023 card. That just, at that point, it would be pretty obvious I was, not paying enough attention. So fine, I'm giving it to Cinccino, which actually, to be fair, is a phenomenal card that has seen a huge amount of play. So I get it. It makes sense. I'm just not loving it as much as I could. I want it to be my boy Clorf, who is ineligible. Cannot stress that enough. Best EX support Pokemon. This one isn't actually as easy as you might think. Now, I'm giving it to Fezandipiti, because Fezandipiti is the best support Pokemon released this year. Or is it? Because if you count Teal'c Gogapon as a support Pokemon, and I think when it really comes down to it, support Pokemon is the best way to describe it, Teal'c Gogapon here. There is a very, very strong argument that Teal'c Gogapon should be the best support, but the thing that swings it for me towards Fezandipiti here is the fact that Teal'c helps in a couple of decks really well, whereas Fezandipiti helps in basically every single possible archetype. And I think that's the reason why we have to give it to Fezandipiti here. Strong consideration for Teal'c Gogapon, don't get me wrong, but I think when it comes down to it, it kind of has to be Fezandipiti. It's just too good in too many different kinds of decks. In terms of best attacking EX here, I'm giving it to Dragapult. And partly it's because for large parts of the year, Dragapult has been awesome, but it's partly because, especially towards the end of the year, Regidrago has gone and become the best deck. Like, we literally, in the most recent regional, went and had a mirror match in the final. We had Regidrago making top 4 at the World Championships. It has been everywhere. And the main go-to attacker in Regidrago is obviously Regidrago, but you're copying attacks of Dragon Pokemon, and the go-to attack to copy here is Dragapult. And I think when you add that all together, it means that Dragapult should be the answer. There's a bunch of others we could go for. Raging Bolt, great attacker that was released this year. But I think when you add it all up together, I think the answer has to be Dragapult. It's definitely a dragon of some description, but I think Dragapult kind of has to be the answer here. Although I know some of you are going to disagree, and that's okay by me. Moving on, we've got the best deck, which of course is not cards released this year, it is how it performed this year, and I'm gonna give it to Regidrago, but this is a really awkward one for me, because the format's been weird. If we look towards the beginning part of the year, we would give this to Charizard, because Charizard has been an absolutely amazing deck all year. If we look at North American Internationals, that tournament, the biggest tournament of the year, was absolutely dominated by Gardevoir. But then, like I say, more recently, it's been the Regidrago show. So we kind of need to try and have a look overall as to what the best deck was. And remember, Worlds was won by Iron Thorns. I am not giving best deck of the year to Iron Thorns, even though it won Worlds, because I don't think over the balance of the year it's been the best deck. There we go. But I'm giving it to Regidrago. This is not an easy one for me to figure out. And I do think this has been an awkward year because we've had a lot of very big metagame shifts. And that's made things a little bit harder to actually figure out. But I think over the course of the year as a whole and moving forward, Regidrago's the answer. Dragapult, also a deck I very seriously considered going for here. I'm going for Regidrago. This seems like the kind of category that's going to make people angry. Show your anger in the comment section. But be nice, would ya? In terms of best expansion, I've got written down Surging Sparks, but I'm actually going for Twilight Masquerade. This has been one of the ones, I wrote my list up last night, and then I came to record this morning and I've been having a real good think about this. I think the answer is actually Twilight Masquerade. Partly we've got that Greninja, which gives it something real good for collectors, but also I think this is the kind of set that has had a real impact in terms of the competitive metagame. It was the set that gave us Dragapult, which we know has been great. It is the set that gave us Iron Thorns, which we know has been absolutely phenomenal. It is the set that gave us Teal'c Gogapon, which has been huge in a ridiculous amount of decks. It's a set that gave us Blood Moon Ursaluna, which I haven't actually given any awards to this year, but it's been one of the absolute best cards in the format in terms of teching and just doing absolutely brilliantly. I could keep going, but I think in terms of value, the Greninja is really saving it. And if you go just by value, yeah, the answer is Surging Sparks. But I think if you look at everything, including playability, I think overall, when you combine collecting and playing and all of that, you mash them together, I think Twilight Masquerade is the best set of the year. If you want to go Surging Sparks, I'm not going to be angry with you. But I really do think the answer is Twilight Masquerade. So that leaves us then with just the best card of the year. I'm giving it to Teal Mask Ogerpon, which I know is weird because I didn't give Teal Mask Ogerpon the best EX, supporting or attacking, but I did give Raging Bolt the best attack in EX. And Raging Bolt really doesn't work without Ogerpon to accelerate energy while drawing cards. And I gave Regidrago the best deck, but Regidrago doesn't really work without Teal Mask Ogerpon to accelerate energy and then use Energy Switch to actually move it over. And that's my point here. No, on its own it didn't get any awards, but it is absolutely instrumental with a bunch of cards that did. And I think over the course of the year, the best, most impactful card that was released was actually Teal Mask Ogerpon. And I'm sure this one's going to cause some consternation, so you know the best place to get rid of that is in the comment section. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's my year in review 2024. Those are my awards. Merry Christmas to anyone that is still watching at this point on the day it was released. And now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about all of these. Give your complete list of winners in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about Pokemon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. And get shout-outs on the channel like the lovely Smash Cafe, who are very lovely people, who've been supporting us for a while, and shout out to them for being awesome. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.